This is why I'm a dog person. Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back. Justin here. As always, thank you so much for stopping by and hanging out with me. Today we're going to be talking about episode 1 of Mike Flanagan's Midnight Mass. Before we get into that, there's a stupid, simple, free, and easy way you can help my channel out and help my videos get seen. That's just simply liking this video. Right now, go down below and slap a like on that video. It takes 2 seconds and it helps out more than you knew. Also, drop a comment below. I'm really curious to hear not only what you think of Midnight Mass so far, but I want to know your thoughts on Mike Flanagan himself. What do you think of his work? Haunting of Bly Manor, Haunting of Hill House, Oculus, Dr. Sleep. I know he tends to be a little bit polarizing in some of the horror circles, and I really want to know what you guys think of his work. Now, with all that said, let's dive into episode 1 of Midnight Mass, which is titled Genesis. Now, very briefly, my history with Mike Flanagan goes back a few years before Haunting of Hill House when I saw his movie Oculus. About this brother and sister who seem to have a haunted mirror in their house. He's always been very ghosty, Mike Flanagan, and he likes to tell his stories through family and really good character development, and of course, ghosts. That seems to be a signature of Mike Flanagan. Oculus is amazing. I highly recommend seeing that movie. It's great. The next thing I saw of his was Haunting of Hill House. After that, it was over for me. I just love the way Mike Flanagan tells a story. With Mike Flanagan, it's always going to be character-first storytelling. When you have developed characters, those quiet, spooky moments just are so much more impactful when you're invested in the characters. Mike Flanagan knows that, and that's the way he chooses to tell his stories. Haunting of Hill House was heartbreaking, it was scary, it was extremely well directed, visually stunning, the sound design is amazing. He just knows how to direct a story, and character first, scares second, but the scares are still there in spades, and they're just so effective. I absolutely loved Haunting of Bly Manor as well. A little more heavy on the character stuff, but still had great scary moments, some of which are really similar to those in the first episode of Midnight Mass, which we are now going to dive into. But simply what I love about Mike Flanagan, I just love the way he tells a story. Characters first, and the scares will come, and they'll be much more effective when you're invested and engaged in the characters. And right off the bat, in the first few moments of the first episode of Midnight Mass, those hallmarks, those classic Mike Flanagan signatures are on full display, and we're going to dive into that right now. The first few moments of the first episode, we are introduced to Riley Flynn, who is one of our main characters. He is involved in a drunk driving accident and he kills his passenger, and he ultimately goes to jail, and he's haunted with the image, this very specific, visceral, terrifying image of that night. I found it really similar to the imagery used in Haunting of Bly Manor for the Headlight Man, although in that you didn't know what you were seeing until later in the series, why this character looked this way. In this one you do, and it's terrifying, and it's a perfect example of how Mike Flanagan not only just gives us scary imagery, but they're connected to our characters' internal struggles, connected to our characters, which makes it just so much more impactful. I loved it. From the opening moments, I knew I was in for something very special with Midnight Mass. The story then picks up 10 years later after Riley is released from prison and he returns to his tiny fishing community, which is an island off the coast of Maine. And the rest of the episode is just all table setting for the series. We get to know all of our various characters. We get a good feel for this island, how small this community is, how isolated this island is. It's a fishing community that has been wrecked by pollution. There was a gas spill which devastated their community, and this island is really run down. There's a heavy, ominous feeling to this island. It's gray, it's misty, it's rainy, but everybody knows everybody. An indication to how small this town is and how much everybody knows each other is a character we're introduced to is the sheriff of the town. And the sheriff's office and the single cell jail is actually attached to a grocery store in the center of town. So when Riley comes back after spending his time in jail, everybody knows what he did. Everybody knows he is now back. And that's sort of where we're left for this story to start unfolding. We also have some actors that we've seen in previous Mike Flanagan projects. We have Henry Thomas as Ed Flynn. He plays Riley's father. We also have Kate Siegel, which is actually Mike Flanagan's wife. She is in this. She's fantastic. She's pregnant. We don't know how she got pregnant, but she also had left the island for a while, and you find out that she's just now coming back as well. And we're introduced to probably the most important character in the center of this whole story that's being told is this brand brand new priest that arrived in town. It's Father Paul. We find out that the previous priest, who was in his upper 80s, was showing major signs of like Alzheimer's and dementia. He left the island for some sort of mission or duty, and he didn't return, but who did return in his place is this brand new sort of charismatic priest. Everybody seems pretty welcoming. You get the feeling that literally any change in the monotony of this small town is welcomed. So when he arrives, everybody seems to be taking to Father Paul really well. He's charismatic. He does things just a little bit differently, which the congregation sort of takes notice to. Now, along with the arrival of this new young priest, he brings a lot of questions with him, which he sort of gives answers to, like what happened to our old priest. He says he became sick and he was unable to return, but this is temporary. He will be back. Also, what is the giant trunk that he brought along with him? When you're introduced to Father Paul, they show him arriving in this in his home with this massive trunk with this big heavy lock on it. You don't know what's in there. Also, you find out little quirky things like he wore a gold robe for the sermon, which somebody comes up and tells him, you know, you're wearing a gold robe. It's supposed to be green. He gives the excuse that he just couldn't find the right robe and he just wore this because it was better than wearing jeans and a t-shirt. But you start to wonder with the different style sermon, the different robe. Is this guy who he says he is? Is he even a priest? Wouldn't he know these small things? Nobody gave warning that their old priest would be changed. The diocese gave no word that a new priest would be arriving in their town. The little brother Warren Flynn, as well as Riley Flynn, feel like they have seen the old priest. They feel like they saw him in a remote area of the island and also right in front of the Flynn's house. He actually goes out to chase what he thinks is the old priest. He always wears this fedora and this long coat. He's just very recognizable. When he goes out to greet him, he of course scurries away. So many questions are asked in this first episode. Also, to add to the feeling and sort of the foreboding of this episode is this storm that's supposed to be rolling in. All the families are boarding up their windows. They're shutting off the power. They're doing all this thing in preparation for this massive storm, and it really adds to this sort of suspenseful, what the hell is going to happen feeling, which is just awesome. It's a great pilot. There's some scary imagery, some spooky moments. What the hell is going on with all these cats on this island? What is the deal with all these cats? That's another question that we're asking. So really, there's just a lot of table setting, a lot of setup within this first episode, and I am really into it. All the characters are interesting. They seem to be developing all these characters really well, and I am really looking forward to where this show is going. The themes of religion and sort of fighting faith and losing faith. Riley says he returns as an atheist. There's just so many questions to be answered. So guys, drop your comments down below and let me know what you thought of episode 1 of Midnight Mass. I'm looking very much forward to hearing your guys' thoughts on this and keeping the conversation going as we go through each episode of the show. So guys, I think we're done here. Thank you so much. Stay weird. Remember to always be yourself, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.